All right, everyone, buckle up, because today we're diving deep into the psychological horror flick Smile. And let me tell you, this isn't just another horror movie review. We're going beyond those surface-level scares to really unpack what makes this film tick. You see, we've got this detailed analysis here, and our mission is to figure out if Smile is just another cookie-cutter horror flick, or if it offers something truly unique. So the movie centers around Rose, this dedicated psychologist, who has to witness a patient's gruesome suicide. But here's the catch. Her patient claimed to be haunted by this entity that takes on familiar faces, always with this bone-chilling, inescapable smile. I don't know about you, but that image alone is enough to give me nightmares.
What's fascinating here is how the film plays with the concept of a curse. Instead of being tied to an object or a place, Smile takes a different route. This curse is passed on through trauma.
Okay, so it's contagious, spreading like a virus through these terrifying events. It immediately brought to mind movies like The Ring, or It Follows. But with this added layer of psychological terror.
Exactly. Smile sets itself apart through its exploration of contagious trauma. We see this most prominently through Rose, as she grapples with the aftermath of her patient's death. The film doesn't shy away from how trauma, especially when left unaddressed, can manifest in terrifying ways, even becoming contagious.
It's a chilling concept, instead of a ghost or demon. It's the emotional weight of trauma that haunts these characters, and the film really wants you to feel the weight of that trauma through Rose's unraveling. Though, I will say, some critics have argued that the film's use of the trauma metaphor can be a bit heavy-handed at times. But where Smile excels is in its pacing. Unlike some horror movies that drag in the middle, Smile keeps you on the edge of your seat throughout.
This is one of the film's greatest strengths. You're constantly on edge, just like Rose, as the movie seamlessly blends her investigation into the curse's history with her own deteriorating mental state. You're left guessing until the very end.
Speaking of Rose, we have to talk about Sosie Bacon's performance. She absolutely killed it, delivering a truly chilling and believable portrayal of a woman on the verge of a complete mental breakdown.
Absolutely. Bacon's performance is phenomenal. The way she portrays Rose's descent into fear and paranoia is so convincing. It actually reinforces the film's theme of contagious trauma. You feel her terror, her desperation. In every scene, you're right there in the thick of it with her, and it's like, you know what really sells that performance? The supporting cast. They may not be as deeply developed, but they serve as this stark contrast to Rose's increasingly erratic behavior.
You're right. Her fiancé and ex-boyfriend, while not as fleshed out, really do highlight how isolated she becomes as the curse takes hold.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder if those relationships could have been her lifeline in another reality. I have to admit, though, I was a little disappointed we didn't get to explore Rose's relationship with her sister more deeply.
I agree. There was definitely missed potential there, especially considering how the film touches upon themes of inherited trauma and the lasting impact of family dysfunction. Imagine the added layer of complexity if we had gotten a deeper understanding of their shared history.
Okay. Shifting gears slightly, let's talk about the mastermind behind this unsettling experience. Director Parker Finn. Smile was his directorial debut. And let me tell you, he crafted an atmosphere of dread that will stay with you long after the credits roll.
Finn demonstrates a real knack for creating this pervasive sense of unease throughout the film, and he achieves this. There's some really clever cinematography choices, like those unsettling Dutch angles, those extreme close-ups on Rose's increasingly disturbed face, and the strategic use of shadow and light. It keeps you guessing. Remember that scene where Rose is talking to her therapist, and the camera slowly zooms in on her eye as she starts to doubt her own sanity? Pure visual tension.
Absolutely. And those jump scares.
Right.
While sometimes predictable, definitely had me jumping out of my seat. Although I'd love to get your take on this. Do you think the movie relied on jump scares a little too much? Or were they effective in keeping the audience on edge?
It's a valid point. While jump scares can be effective, they sometimes feel like a crutch in modern horror. In the case of Smile, some worked brilliantly, while others felt a tad cheap. It's like that fine line between startling you and making you feel genuinely afraid.
Right. Because real fear is not just about a sudden bang or a creepy face popping up. It's about the atmosphere, the anticipation of something terrible lurking just around the corner.
Precisely. And when it comes to creature design, Smile is at its most effective when it embraces subtlety. Remember those distorted faces, those fleeting glimpses of something inhuman hiding behind a smile? That's where the true horror lies. The less we see, the more our imaginations run wild.
You're preaching to the choir. It's like the monster under the bed. Our minds conjure up something far more terrifying than anything a filmmaker could ever show us.
Exactly. And when the film finally reveals the creature in its full monstrous glory, it loses a bit of its power. The subtlety that made the first two acts so effective gets overshadowed by something, well, a bit too on the nose.
I see what you mean. There's something to be said for leaving certain things to the imagination, allowing the audience to fill in the blanks with their own fears. So, as we reach the climax of this deep dive, let's bring it back to you, our fellow deep divers. What makes Smiles stand out in a sea of horror movies?
You hit the nail on the head with
With
Lingers, because that's what Smile does so effectively. It gets under your skin and stays with you. And while it might not reinvent the horror genre, it sparks a conversation about mental health, even if it doesn't always handle the topic perfectly.
It's true. Smile forces us to confront the uncomfortable reality of trauma and its lasting impact, not just on individuals, but on those around them as well. It's a chilling reminder that ignoring our inner demons can have far-reaching consequences.
Precisely. And that's what makes Smile more than just a scary movie. It challenges us to think critically about how we address trauma, both in ourselves and in our communities. What happens when we ignore those cracks in our own foundations? Can they truly spread like a virus, infecting those we love?
Now, that's a thought-provoking question to end on. Makes you reflect on your own life, doesn't it? What kind of smiles are we projecting to the world, and what lies beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to rear its head? Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. We hope this episode gave you a new perspective on Smile, not just as a horror flick, but as a film that delves into the complexities of trauma and its ripple effects. Remember, sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones we create ourselves. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and most importantly, keep diving deep